A very good afternoon to all. So here we are today, focusing on something called the warrior within. Let's go to, let's dig down back to some of my favorite animated movies. How many fans for animated movies? I think some of them make more sense to me than any mainstream feature film nowadays. Inside Out. For those who watched it, you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. For those who don't worry, I'll be summarizing it. So, I know when we talk about Warrior Within, the first movie that will come kicking asses would be my most favorite, Kung Fu Panda. But why are we talking about Inside Out today? So, it's a 2015 film that has won and bagged too many awards the same year for being the best animated movie. Academy Awards, Golden Globe Awards. Let's see what message this actually was trying to give about 11-year-old girl named Riley who was transferring because of her father's work to another state. And there she realizes that she has to completely go into a new place, leaving behind everything, a part of her childhood, from the home she was in to the salons and pizzerias and her friends, her school, her everything. And she has to settle down in this new town that has a lot of new people. For an 11-year-old girl, I don't think that would seem like a great idea. So this movie highlights 5 core emotions that Riley is going through. Namely, we have joy, we have disgust, we have anger, we have fear, and we have sadness. Like any of us, this tiny girl goes through all these emotions inside her head. The director has done a beautiful job by impersonating all of them and showing us what these emotions actually do to us. So, taking a leap from here, what voices do you hear? I mainly hear two basic voices in my head when I'm having a thought process. One, the evil side of me that's telling me what is the negative side of whatever I'm going to do. What will be the problem, what will be the faults, and how it's not going to work out. There's also an angel side, an angelic voice that tells me that, you know what, Shreya, you can do it. Everything's gonna settle down. It's just for now that you'll have to put your brain straight ahead and forge. So just like every voice in my head, I feel like every impersonated emotion that the director has shown beautifully in this movie, there are two voices. At times, don't you feel that when you're the happiest, you feel so demotivated? You feel like, why is this happening to me? Isn't it too good to be true? Don't you start doubting being happy? That's the demon, that's the voice that tells you that, no, come on, this is just gonna last for a few minutes, or is it really happening to me? But there's definitely a voice that will tell you, chuck everything, come on, enjoy the moment, be happy, live it like you should. There's also fear that has this voice that says, oh my god, I'm scared of heights. Oh my god, I'm scared of deep waters. I am hydrophobic. And every time I see water, that's exactly how I look. But there is something in me that says, I have a bucket list where I'm going to tick off and I am going to jump down a cliff, skydiving or jet skiing, and go snorkeling like all my friends are currently in Maldives. Go snorkeling, go dive deep in an ocean. That's the other voice speaking. And then there's anger that says, prove your point right now. End this conversation. Tell them that you are right. But there's also this voice that comes in and says, you know what? Calm down. Look at others' perspectives. Look at different sides. For now, don't speak. You're too angry. And then there's sadness. Looking at the image itself, I feel so sad. It says that, oh my god, this situation is too negative for me. This is not supposed to be happening. But there's something that says, you know what, go ahead, dust yourself and forge, because that's where you're supposed to head towards happiness. There's some light in the tunnel, there's some silver lining on the cloud. There are multiple emotions that a person goes through. I did too. I do as well right now. At this very moment, I have multiple emotions going on in my head, like all of us do. Just to scroll through your Instagram can lead you to various emotions. There could be anxiety, there could be jealousy, there could be a lot of comparison happening, which may lead to a lot of insecurity. Procrastination, something so simple that I keep pushing unnecessarily, and a lot of confusion with all the thoughts mixed up in my head. And then there comes my favorite, laziness. I think this is the most famous emotion that we've been going through during COVID. So like I said, every voice that's in my head, every emotion has two sides to it. Similarly, every emotion in me does have two sides. A demon, and there's a warrior that says that, you know what, let's think about the negative first and then look at the positive, and that's how I forge ahead. So let's go back to some Indian mythology. They say that the timeline of this world is divided into 4 yugas. One, the Satya Yuga, the Devlok and the Asurlok having a huge war, that is the evil and the world that we currently live in having a war amongst themselves. And then there was Treta Yuga, where we had Ramayana, where the rulers of 2 countries were having a quarrel for whatsoever reason. Then we had Dwapara Yuga, where the same family had a good and an evil side that was fighting, that is the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And now we are in the Kali Yuga, which is the present. So who is the one who's fighting? The world wars? I don't think so. The Kali Yuga is where we have battles within ourselves. So there was a burden of thoughts in me. Just last year, January, I remember going to the doctor, visiting the doctor for a weekly dosage of B12. My immunity was low. Being an extrovert most of my life, I did not understand why I was not able to pull out my thoughts, push it out of myself and speak to at least my mother, who I always go up to, or my best friends who I would have a telephonic conversation immediately after any situation. But there was this cloud of thoughts that I could not express. And everyone during my Miss India days, post that or before that, I was this bomb who would create the party scene or be the happy and the joyful person that I am. But there was something that was internally damaging me, these thoughts that were disturbing me. And then I thought, you know what, last Jan this was happening, and for me it was just getting very tiresome. So I said, let me have the most perfect escape plan. There was a time during the last year that I felt that I was victimizing my parents, victimizing them through my emotions that I was going through internally. To a point where, I know I'm saying it with a smile, to a point where I wanted to give up on life. That took a turning for me. I was thinking, for someone who's motivating the others, how could I think of giving up on life? How could I even have a thought like that? It was easier than pulling myself up, for sure. And then with these cloud of emotions, I said, you know what, let me just get out of this city. Let me get out of this place that I am in, where everyone knows me. Let me go to a place, an unknown place where people won't recognize. I can start a little afresh. I was already fighting battles outside in regards to relationship, in regards to my career path. I felt like I was sorted. Anyone who sees my Instagram or social media would feel like, yeah, she's sorted, she just won. But then what? What next was something that was killing me inside my head, because I set a bar way above, way high for myself. That is no one's mistake. So having to do this, I decided, okay, there is a course in London that I've been longing to do for a long time. So let me get away for a month. I've asked 1 month's break for my parents. So last February, I remember packing myself, packing all my clothes, packing everything possible for a month, and getting my visa done, all my documents ready. And then March 2020 is when I fly. Happiest escape from the thoughts. I didn't know I would be carrying them, less did I know that, but I was so sure that I was going to leave behind everything and take a break and come back. Travel is the best escape. 2020 March, 5 hours from my flight departure, I get a call just before I leave to the airport from London saying that my relatives and friends say that, listen, there's something called a lockdown happening. So why don't you just step back and not fly now, maybe a week later? I said, no, my course starts in a week. But they say that, no, it's not the right time to go. And I realized that, okay, I'll have to stay back at the same place with my thoughts. This was what was going on in my head more than going and joining a course. I said, okay, let me do this. Let me stay back and figure out what I can do. And therapy was one thing that I was looking forward to. Therapists, my mother's been looking for therapists all over Hyderabad, my hometown, and seeing where best can she send her daughter, who is no more as joyful as she used to be. But then Modi ji announces a complete lockdown, where I say, all right, I have to live with this, not just in my city, but in my house, in my room, locked all by myself. So self-healing didn't really look like an option, but there wasn't another option for me left. And as I got into the COVID phase, I started thinking that there has to be something more that I have to do. I started getting up early. I said, let me try one of these self-healing processes. So I started doing Surya Namaskara. There was yoga that I was indulging in. I started reading the Bhagavad Gita. I didn't know much of Mahabharata back then. I started reading, and I started watching episodes of Mahabharata on Hotstar and realized that I was super furious with the Pandavas. There were emotions that were just kicking in. I was getting angry with Arjun. I was yelling at them. I was screaming. I was crying. I was weeping when Draupadi was having her Chirharan. I didn't know these emotions were kicking me just because there was so much built up in me which I couldn't even speak about. And then there came a phase where I said, okay, there is something that I have to deal with, that I have to fight, or that I have to live with. I said, you know what? I cannot live with these. It's just getting too difficult for me. Let me just see how I can battle them. Then came the phase where I was self-healing, looking into different aspects and thinking to myself that there are a world of, not opportunities, world of emotions that I was going through, that I had to tackle each of them. Very tiresome, but thanks to COVID, that I was sitting and listening to every thought that I had was like a cloud that was passing by, a thin cloud that was going through with a heavy breeze that I couldn't hold and retrospect or introspect. And this happens. There were questions that I was answering, thinking, am I even worth it? Am I even sure of what I'm doing? I want to teach. I want to do some service. Am I all the nice things that everyone says during my introduction? I feel like, is it really me? Are they talking about someone like me who has multiple thoughts in her head and is been questioning her own self-worth? But don't you answer questions like this on a daily basis? Why does this always happen to me? Why do I postpone things? This is a major question I'm sure every student has been answering. Or why do they always get it right? So insecure in our own mind. There is no one who's telling us or comparing us. We ourselves are doing it. There was one small thing that I caught on to. I made the voice of the warrior in me louder than the one that had the demon. I just had to raise that volume, that small volume of the warrior, and say that, you know what, demon, chill, let me handle. But thought by thought, not at once. I had to tackle each emotion differently. Another quotation from my favorite movie: your mind is like water. When it is agitated, it becomes difficult to see. But when you allow it to settle, the answer becomes more clear. So take more time. Just give yourself more time. I know you're battling issues outside. You're fighting with your parents, you're fighting with your friends. Then you sit and think, okay, why don't we think from their shoes, their point of view? But how many demons are you dealing with inside? Just introspect. Let the warrior take control, not the demon, on a daily basis. And it's not something that happens once. I fought laziness back then and now you think I'm the most active. No, it's a demon that I have to fight each and every day. It had to be, the quotation for those who don't know, had to be from my favorite movie, Kung Fu Panda. Thank you so much.